13 murders, 7 assaults. Peter Sutcliffe killed with a ball-peen hammer and then brutally slashed his victims. The fear he created changed people's lives. The euphoria when he was arrested infected even the normally sober announcements of the police.
I can tell you that we are absolutely delighted with developments at this stage. Absolutely delighted.
Can you all smile?
Really delighted. George is delighted as well.
They were absolutely delighted. They'd caught him, and it was that phrase that stuck in my mind, absolutely delighted.
Yes, absolutely delighted.
Those words didn't, you know, those type of words I didn't want to hear, you know, connected to the death of my mother. Delight, you know, even though in retrospect, looking back, of course they would be delighted. At the time, I was thinking, absolutely delighted. I'm bloody frustrated here, to say the least.
October 1975. Richard McCann's mother, Wilma Mccann, was the first recognised victim of Sutcliffe. Her body was found yards from her home on playing fields behind Scott Hall Avenue in Leeds. Richard's eldest sister, Sonia, aged 7, became worried when their mother didn't return home. It was 5:30 in the morning.
Sonia, the oldest, woke me and, you know, shook me and says, you know, Mum's not here. Well, let's go find her. I put my coat on over my pyjamas, and we headed off to the local bus stop. And it was walking to that bus stop down the path at the back of the field where I was, you know, that was the first time as a young 5-year-old that I felt fear, you know. And when we sat at the bus stop hoping that she would come off the buses, as one each came and went, that fear grew and grew. That memory of that night has remained with me all this time, 29 years.
Richard McCann was the first of many young children to lose their mothers to Sutcliffe. January 1976, mother of 3, Emily Jackson, killed in Sheepscar, Leeds.
No, we don't know the motive at the present time. We don't think it's sex, and we don't think it's robbery at this stage.
As the murders continued, the police decided that Sutcliffe had a grudge against prostitutes. Even when in June 1977, 16-year-old Jane MacDonald became the Ripper's 6th victim, struck down just a few hundred yards from Scott Hall Avenue, the man in charge of the investigation, George Oldfield, stuck to the prostitute theory.
Drove off when he saw plate.
Did he? Oh, that's not surprising. Anyway, we're doing our best. We want him as much as you do. More so.
I think it was a mistake that he attacked Jane MacDonald. I think probably in her case he mistook her for being a lady of the streets because she was out in that area at the time she was, on that Saturday night.
But women knew that all women were at risk. Marilyn Webb reported their views for Calendar after the murder of MacDonald.
Do you feel that it's any woman's target?
I think so now, yes.
How do you feel about the Ripper being on the loose?
Oh, it's a terrifying thought. The last lady got attacked at a party, which isn't far from where I live.
Yeah, well, everyone thinks, you know, well, she might be next, and I thought it were her that, you know, caught last time and everything. Everybody's really frightened about it.
Someone somewhere must know who we're looking for. The next victim could be your wife, your daughter, your sister, or your niece.
A quarter of a century on, and women still remember how for years the police mislabelled Sutcliffe as a killer of prostitutes.
To start with, I think he just targeted prostitutes because they were out alone at night.
Yeah, well,
they were easy targets.
I think he just had a thing against women, and it were them ladies that were available through the night.
It come over that this Jane MacDonald had been murdered. I come from Chapeltown, me, originally, and I was friends with his sister. I thought, I'm sure it is. And then when the dress come that she lived up Scotland and everything else, I thought it bloody is. And like, I thought saying that, well, he ain't into prostitutes because she won't.
Now, a lot of girls who are walking in the streets of Leeds in the night time, whether they're in groups or singly, are carrying small pocket alarms rather like this one. Now, the alarms that are on the market often make a different tone, but apparently this particular model is very popular in this part of the country. Now, it makes a very distinctive sound, and I've been asked by the nurses in Leeds to demonstrate it for calendar, so that if you hear this noise, then you'll know what it is. It's a cry for help. And this is what it sounds like.
And then we come into those who died.
Clive Entwistle and Paul Dunstan prepared a documentary for transmission on the night Sutcliffe was sentenced. They'd followed the case since the very first murder.
As the death toll mounted, terrifying rumours spread about what he had done to the women he had killed. To the women of the north of England, it seemed as though nothing short of a monster was on the rampage.
The fear that pervaded the whole of this area, you know, Leeds, Sheffield, Bradford, up to York, all this area, was immense.
Yes, I don't think you can underestimate that feeling of panic. I don't think you go as far as to say it was hysteria, but there was real apprehension among the female population.
People talked about their own husbands, boyfriends, shot them, in quotes, to the police, in the belief that was there a possibility that he or she, my own wife, checked out where I was when one particular murder took place simply because she thought he wasn't home that night. Where was he? What was he doing? And I think that was the level of fear.
That photo fit they did of him looked just like my husband.
I didn't even trust my own brothers. I was watching his work clothes, I was watching the clothes he were coming back from nightclubs in, and everything, because you trusted nobody. You didn't know what this bloke looked like.
It totally put you off going out alone. You're so frightened.
The most frightening part for me was when I changed my job, because I worked in Leeds and then I started working in Batley on nights, and I had to get to the bus, which was quite a long walk away. And if a man were walking at the back of me, I totally froze.